Deploying AI agents is not one leap. Teams must build value layer by layer. If a company starts with end-to-end automation before identity, permissions, data quality, exception handling, and accountability are ready, risk can scale faster than value. In 2026, OpenAI described 5 AI value models: workforce empowerment, AI-native distribution, expert capability, systems and dependency management, and agent-led process re-engineering. Each has different economics, time to value, and governance needs. This episode turns those models into an AI value path map. It helps a team identify its current layer, choose the next foundation to build, and define the evidence required before scaling further. This video is packed with practical, high-value insights to help you get better at using AI. It's a longer one, so follow Tiny Agent and save it so you don't lose it. First, see how the 5 value models relate so you do not manage them as 5 disconnected pilots. Workforce empowerment spreads practical AI capability and creates reusable prompts, workflows, and assets across roles. AI-native distribution moves product discovery, evaluation, and choice into conversations or embedded applications. Its real measures are qualified intent, conversion quality, and durable trust. Expert capability expands what researchers, creators, and domain specialists can examine or produce, while responsibility stays with people who can review the output. Systems and dependency management keeps code, procedures, contracts, and policies consistent, traceable, and safe as they change together. Process re-engineering is where AI agents orchestrate end-to-end workflows across functions, permissions, exceptions, evidence, and ownership. The strategic question is not which single model wins forever. It is where to start, what foundation that step builds, and what it unlocks next. Chapter Recap. First, the 5 models create value in different ways. Second, earlier layers build capability and governance for later ones. Third, the real choice is the starting point and sequence. Next, learn why many teams should build fluency and trust before pursuing maximum automation. Workforce empowerment is not just faster drafting. It gives business, legal, finance, and technical teams a shared language for where AI works and where review is required. Do not measure this layer by licensed seats alone. Measure repeated use by role, proficiency, reusable workflows, and evidence of cross-functional enablement. A common failure is a two-tier workforce. A few power users accelerate while everyone else remains stuck in experimentation. Build a champions network and role-specific starter workflows so good practices become understandable, reusable, and reviewable for ordinary teams. When people understand AI's limits, governance becomes practical because rules about what is allowed, reviewed, logged, and owned connect to daily work. Broad practice also reveals the next high-value bottlenecks faster, reducing the chance that investment is driven by a polished demo. Chapter Recap. First, empowerment should measure repeated use and proficiency. Second, shared fluency turns governance into a working habit. Third, broad practice reveals the next valuable opportunity. The third step is choosing one expert bottleneck or high-dependency domain, so you know whether to raise capability or strengthen the control layer first. Expert capability fits research, design, science, and domain-heavy review. Measure cycle time reduction, quality lift, lower rework, and whether previously infeasible options become testable. Its common failure is remaining a demonstration instead of entering a real workflow with a named reviewer and clear accountability. A safer move is to choose one expert bottleneck, agree on the decision maker and required evidence, then let AI expand the range of work that can be tested or reviewed. Systems and dependency management addresses a different risk. One change can affect many codebases, documents, policies, or processes, so faster generation can create faster inconsistency. Map the dependency graph, approval path, and evidence requirements before allowing an AI control layer to change interconnected artifacts. The foundation is real only when safe change time falls, conflicts decline, audit trails remain complete, and downstream consistency improves. Chapter Recap. First, expert capability needs a real bottleneck and reviewer. Second, high-dependency work starts with a dependency graph and approval path. Third, speed matters only when consistency and auditability remain controlled. Now decide when an AI agent can redesign an end-to-end process instead of merely accelerating the old one. Process re-engineering may create the most value, but it scales slowly because an agent crosses identity, data, tool, departmental, and accountability boundaries. It requires real identity and access controls, clean entitlements, observability at scale, exception handling, confidence signals, and clear ownership. Without those foundations, automation can amplify errors, unauthorized actions, and ownerless exceptions faster than it creates value. Assess identity, permissions, tool integration, logging, escalation, and ownership before selecting one workflow for a controlled test. Measure not only end-to-end cycle time, but also exception rates, recovery time, compliance outcomes, and new opportunities surfaced. True process re-engineering asks why the process exists, where judgment belongs, and where AI can create new value rather than cheaper execution. Chapter Recap. First, end-to-end agents need mature control foundations. Second, exceptions and accountability must be explicit before automation. Third, redesign pursues new value, not merely lower operating cost. Finally, compress the 5 models into a reusable map with entry conditions, business evidence, and upgrade gates. The first field records the current value layer, empowerment, distribution, expert capability, dependency management, or process redesign. Choose one primary arena. The second field records business evidence, repeated use, conversion quality, expert quality, change consistency, or end-to-end outcomes, never usage volume alone. The third field records foundation gaps in data, identity, permissions, integration, observability, exception handling, and ownership, with an owner for every gap. The fourth field defines the next layer gate, which result must remain true and which risk must be controlled before scope expands. Choose one action with visible return, then reinvest that return in the foundation for the next layer. That creates a continuous investment loop instead of a leap of faith. Do not treat the map as one mandatory route for every company. Regulated industries and mature teams may run parallel pilots, but each pilot must state what foundation it builds. Screenshot and use this value path map, layer, evidence, gaps, gate. Chapter recap. First, identify the current value layer and primary arena. Second, use business evidence and foundation gaps to decide investment. Third, scale or advance only after a clear gate is met. In summary, deploying AI agents should not begin with the grandest automation vision. It should begin with a value move that produces evidence and builds the next foundation. Build fluency and governance language first, then address expert bottlenecks and dependencies, and redesign processes only when permissions, observability, and ownership are ready. Measure every layer by business outcomes rather than pilot count, and reinvest only after the evidence holds. Which foundation does your team need most right now? Workforce fluency, expert capability, or process control? Share your answer in the comments. Follow Tiny Agent. Tiny Agent helps you get better at using AI.